changing lives.
Hello, you're welcome to the show On Air Music Business. We are deeply sorry for the delay in beginning the program, but here we are on air now and I think you can enjoy it. It is going to be a week or say 5 days of business music. We're going to learn a lot and educate ourselves. So I would encourage you to call that friend of yours who lives in Sehioso, Asankregwa or Boise to stay glued to the television set as we learn together. We are going to be talking to people who actually swim in the river of music business. I'm trying to say they know it all. These are the people I call the creme de la cremes of business music here in Ghana. They have all the experience to share with us. So it is going to be very interesting. So you just call that friend to also stay glued to the television set, tuned to Hope Channel Ghana. Then we all learn together. You might be asking, what is business music all about? What it is about? What it is about? You are right to ask. I didn't know about it until I was told to host this show. So we are going to go through the learning all together, and we are going to learn and educate ourselves. You know, a lot has happened in the music industry in the past 20 years. These kind of changes require that you, the stakeholder, the musician or the artist, also put in measures to make sure you meet the changing times. Looking at the digital environment, everything is changing, so you are required to also get on board. See, can you remember those days when at lorry stations you have men carrying radio stations, radio tapes and all that, playing their music, expecting you to buy their cassette or CDs? Those times are dying out. We can't continue to hope that doing the old things will give us new results. Let's learn today, and I know we're going to get there. It is going to be very interesting, like I've very indicated. So just stay and then let's learn together. Let me quickly run you through what we are going to be looking at in the course of the 5 days. We're going to be looking at the digital media, and how the Seventh-day Adventist musician or the artist can take advantage of digital media in the making of his professional journey. And then we are also going to be looking at 360-degree music. I didn't know that until I was told. Is there something called 360 in music too? We are going to learn that and also get to know how the artists can also get on board 360-degree music. We are also going to be looking at one area that I have huge interest for, and that is artist branding. All this while I've been thinking it is so wrong for a Seventh-day Adventist musician to even think of branding himself. I've always been thinking that's so sinful to think of branding yourself. We are going to go into that to see how best we can do it. And on the 4th day, we are going to be looking at one very important subject that I'm very biased towards, and that is music videos. Are they still relevant in this day when we are doing music business? We have big men, like I said, people who actually swim in business music, who are going to come around and give us lessons one after the other until we get there. I have my guest here, but before I do the introduction of my guest, we'll take a quick break, and when we're back, I'll introduce my guest to you.
We want to defy our family's decision and get married or elope. I need advice. What should I do?
Please, what should I do?
How do I tell her I cheated on her months ago? I need help. What should I do?
Okay, so for me, the moment I read the story, the first thing that came to mind was, wow, knowledge is indeed power. Sometimes we go through situations because we have no knowledge of how to go about them.
If you come from a home like that, you are likely to accept anything the outsider would, direct us.
The fact that you had an interesting ceremony where a priest prayed and all of that doesn't mean that magically you have turned into something else.
If he finds his way to God, a Bible-believing church, and he goes and he wants to change, nothing is impossible.
Is he giving his properties to charity and stuff?
Oh no, why? Okay, I think this is another discussion that we will not end today, so we'll not even go into it.
Real Talk, showing this and every Wednesday at 8 p.m.
Minua, Oka Hope TV, Nipa Apim Kone Home. I wo Oka Home. TV adwumako otu no nsa afrɛ wo wonamfo ene wabusua sebedom akraje adwumadi a wato ne din se Hope Club 1000 ho.
Hope Club 1000
ani Hope TV ni papimko we yenhyehyɛ a wato on bo ase anwene ede ama ahene mate sɛ wo a wopɛsɛ mo bo ama Hope TV ɛkɔ nanim no eyi Ghana cedi oha bosomi bia ede boa asemka dwumadie no sɛ wontumi ntwapo ɛnkɔ wiase nsaase so a na wontumi ntonyom sɛ abofo na wontumi nka sempa no sɛ osumafo Paula na ne we ne mrepa se wode wo kakra beboa wo abefo nyamsem ka adwumadie no mu e ka se boa bi ene fa wo telephone no na twa osika to momo number edidi sui 0249193083 ana Zenith Bank account number 6010190657 na nyanshira
esesa me kasa adwumadie yi ho bi.
I have my guest already seated and very prepared to take us through some lessons. I am privileged to introduce to you one friend of mine. He is Sadiq Abdullahi Abu. I got it right, I think.
Yes, Sadiq.
Yeah, Sadiq was my junior in the secondary school, Ghana National College.
That's right.
And I'm privileged to see him here again, doing big things. I read a lot about you few weeks ago.
Right.
You doing an awards event, right?
Yeah,
and that was three music awards.
Right.
He is the CEO of the 3 Music Awards.
Right.
It is very gargantuan here in Ghana.
Thank you.
And I'm very proud that an alma mater of Ghana National College is doing big things.
Thank you. Thank you.
So you were my junior.
Yeah, and I mean, you were my school prefect as well.
Oh, okay, I quite remember. I hope I never had issues.
Quite strict, quite straightforward.
Yes, that was for the cameras. I hope I never had issues with you, like bullying you, punishing you.
No. I think that you had a very amiable personality, but school prefects often do have this aura, and I think you had that.
Okay, that's some good fans for me now.
Yes.
Yeah, so we are going to get into the discussions, but briefly tell us something more about what you do and who you are and all that. I read your profile.
Yeah.
It's so loaded that I wish that I could read everything here, but I would love to hear it coming from you yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, currently I run 3 Music, 3 Media Networks, in fact, which owns 3 Music, and 3 Music is a music 24-hour service music channel, which has the 3 Music Awards.
Okay.
We also have a company called Light Digital, where we help a number of these global digital streaming platforms to set up and, unlock their values in the country. And also helping talents to, as it were, maximize the benefits of digital streaming, which has been brought to us by technology. Yeah. And so, essentially that's what I do.
Yeah, and you are with some TV stations too?
Yeah, so that's 3 Media Networks, which owns 3 Music.
Okay.
3 Music previously was a content platform, but it's now grown into a channel, music channel.
All right.
But our most notable product has always been the 3 Music Awards, which is in its 4th year.
Yes.
But aside from that, I did Boom Play in Ghana. We helped set up Music Time as well. Yeah. We did some bit of work for Spotify in Ghana as well. Okay. And through Light Digital, for instance, we're doing a number of things with regards to some of these international streaming platforms in Ghana.
Okay. I think that you're doing great things out there. It is a blessing. We have wasted a lot of time on trying to fix our machines here and there, so we didn't waste much time. The pulpit is for you to do business music or say online. Yeah. Okay. Let's see you.
All right, cool.
The
Thank you.
pulpit is yours. Yeah.
So when I came in here, I think that it's relevant whilst on an Adventist platform to start with a very notable Adventist greeting, which is Nyankudo. So if you're watching us and you're also Adventist as well, I'm sure you know the response when I say Nyankudo, or the other oft-repeated term, which is Maranatha, Maranatha, Maranatha.
Jesus come.
Jesus is coming. So mine will be a bit brief. Before I get into the presentation proper, I would like to deal with the the frequently asked questions relative to the music business, streaming, and all of that.
Yes.
Often when we come out, particularly for people that are not in the industry, there are a lot more of questions that they do ask relative to the music business. And so I'd want to take some bit of it and then tackle some of it. Now, one of the frequently asked questions has been, what does the term music business entail? And aside streaming, what other technologies come to play in this field? You know, let me take that again. What does the term music business entail? And aside streaming, what other technologies come to play in this field? Now, you come to understand that the music business refers to an industry where intellectual properties covering compositions, i.e., that is the songs, lyrics, productions, videos, and other music-based media are created and traded. It also involves a wide range of professionals who played varied roles in the value chain to help create and commercialize the various properties for their and audience benefits. The audience do drive entertainment value or benefit from the music. And so you would come to understand that the music business is vast, is big. There are various different professionals that work in the music business. There are a lot of people that are songwriters. There are a lot of people that are performing talents. There are some that are also involved in other aspects of it, but it's quite big and does employ a number of people. But also, you heard me talk about properties. Of course, anything that has to do with your intellectual property that requires your thinking, using your brains to curate anything is intellectual property. And intellectual property pretty much works just like how you have your property. So your intellectual property or a creation of out of your thinking on intellectual property is a property similar to the ways that you manage your car or a house that you buy. And there are a lot more ways regarding how you can commercialize the intellectual property. So you come to realize that the music industry, as much as it looks like it's all fun in the front, behind it, there's a lot of legal work that's supposed to, work. Yeah. You know, because of the word property, because you would have an instance where somebody writes a particular song for another person, the other person performs it, and then there are a lot more people that are right owners of just one single piece of a creation. So there's a lot to it. Now, one of the other questions that has been and of course, you also need to understand that if you are a listener and you listen to music, there's a benefit that you derive from this. The value you derive from this is the entertainment value, or whatever any other value that you derive from it, or which compels you to have to go to download or buy a particular song. That's your benefit. For people involved in the music business, part of the benefits, aside, well, in gospel terms it's quite different, but generally, the main benefits for us is coming together to curate a particular thing which we trade. You get the benefits. Yeah. The benefits we get is the fact that we get you to part with a particular value. It could be money or whatever, but mainly money, which goes to help us recoup whatever investment that went to it, because it can be quite capital intensive as well. So yes, that's the benefit we get. When you extend it as well, particularly for a lot of the people that are in the gospel industry, the inherent benefit could be evangelism. The fact that through music, they are trying to win souls for Christ through all the mainly biblical messages or Christian inspired messages in the song. So they could have an added layer of a benefit to them, which is winning souls to Christ. But of course, there is always a business element to it because of the funding element that goes into the creation of this. Okay. Now, one of the few questions that we've also been hit with consistently is, outside distribution, what has the evolution of technology done for the music industry? Today, the music industry has totally changed. Previously, for a lot of us that were born in the 80s, we came to meet the cassettes. But for a lot of people that were there before the 80s, they were used to what they call the vinyl. Yeah. And so the ways they consume music was through the vinyl. They get the vinyl, and then that's how they consume the music. Then it get to our time when it was a cassette player, where you go to a shop, buy a cassette, come and enjoy it. Yeah. It got to a particular point in time where it evolved as well, technology, and then we moved to CDs, where you, just like you do for the cassette, you go buy a CD and enjoy the song. But it got a particular point in time where people were downloading. They were not. We went through a transitional phase where technology was coming. We were not so sure what was happening, and so it was a dark phase for the music industry globally, where the music industry globally lost a lot of money because we were going through that transitioning phase, moving from CD to the now of music. The now of music simply provides you the opportunity. So whereas before you step out to actually go and buy a cassette or CD, it's now changed.
Yeah.
From the comfort of your homes and from the convenience of your mobile phone or mobile device or a laptop, you could easily access all the music that you want from the world.
Yeah.
From your laptop, you could access it from the YouTube, you could access it from any of the music streaming platforms. So yes, technology has impacted the ways music is consumed today. Now, one of the other things that technology has done to music is that it also enhanced the music process. That's a particular point that I see that a lot of the older people do differ from because they are more used to the more organic production of music, where you get the entire band, everything is played organically in the studio. But today as well, it's made it much more simpler. It simplified the process. It's also equally made promotions of music easier. Previously, if we were in a particular country, your promotions could be national in scope. Today, with the power of technology, your promotions could be international in scope, where from a particular button or from a particular plug system, you could just push out any notification that you want. So you'd realize that for a lot of the people that have a YouTube platform, for instance, they are what you call subscribers. So if you have 1 million subscribers, for instance, on your YouTube platform, the moment you put out a material on a YouTube platform, this 1 million people are notified across the world. You know, so yes, technology has also equally made it much more easier. It's helped to also control piracy. At a certain point in time, one of the biggest problems before the transition, the dark transitioning phase of music, was piracy, where people could tap your song and then put it on a particular cassette and then sell it anywhere. Or it got to a particular point where they could easily burn it on other CDs. It's not branded, it's not official, they sell it and they make money. What technology is doing today is that as much as piracy has not totally been wiped out, it's made it much difficult and controlled it in a particular way. Today, if you pick anybody's audio or song and put it on, say, YouTube without any licensing permission from the person, YouTube could flag it, or YouTube could ensure that any other revenue that you accrue or numbers that you accrue on the YouTube of that particular audio accrues to the original owner of the song. You know, it's the same across a number of platforms as well, where once the person had originally uploaded the songs on this particular platform, it may not be foolproof. We'll get into that when we get there, but it has in a way regulated it and controlled piracy. Today, you cannot easily just tap anybody's sound and put it on any platform and make money. But it's happening. We get there. A number of the old musicians, one of the complaints we get is that a number of their songs have been tapped through other aggregators and have been put out and they have no idea about it. You learn how you can go about doing that as well. Technology has also provided made music convenience for a lot of music fans to access the music they want and how they want it. Now, there's a major conversation about the increasing volume of streaming channels. I mean, giving musicians a large audience. There's been one frequently asked question as well, which is that the increased volume of streaming channels, and I'll explain what streaming channels or streaming platforms are, give musicians to a larger audience. How much does foreign audience contribute to the local music industry's revenue? How much does foreign audience contribute to the local music industry's revenue? Now, before we get into that, for a lot of people that are not familiar with streaming apps or streaming platforms, which has been brought about by technology, this is it. If you've had to download any platform where you listen to music, or you subscribed to, or you watch on YouTube, just know that these are streaming platforms, or these are avenues where you can access the music that you want wherever that you want it. So maybe you have Spotify on your phone, maybe you have Boomplay on your phone, maybe you have AudioMac on your phone, or you have Tidal on your phone, and you've got the YouTube app on your phone. For a lot of the older people that do not understand all these names that we've mentioned, particularly because they are not familiar with it, what streaming or what these channels or platforms are, it's simple. Mobile phone, or laptop, there are, just like Facebook, there are what you call apps that you could easily download for it to sit on your phone. So on this, there's always an onboarding process where you either have to subscribe or you have to sign in some way, somehow to access the music. When you get into it, there's an easy navigation process where you can search for the artist that you want, you can search for the music that you want, and you can access the music that you want and pay for it. Yes. So for a lot of the older people that are not familiar with what you call the streaming channels, that's essentially what we're talking about. Now, one of the questions that has always been asked is the fact that for people that operate in Ghana, for instance, or a local industry wherever you find yourself, does this streaming platform, which gives you access to an international audience, contribute to the local music industry? The answer has always been yes. Yes, it does contribute to the local music industry. It's substantial. Now, if you're going to group the Ghanaian audiences that have access to this particular platform, by the way, for any artist, your primary market is your local market and its extension into the diaspora. The local market and its extension into the diaspora. So you realize that there are a number of our brothers, our sisters, and our relatives, or people that have a certain connection to Ghana, who are anywhere around the world, that continuously look back into Ghana to consume entertainment or consume media into Ghana. A lot of these people, wherever they are as well, are looking back and consuming the same thing that we are consuming here. So it's an extension of the primary market. But one of the things technology gives you is that agnostic platform that makes it easy for you, for anybody across the world, to access you as much as possible. So yes, a lot of these people that are anywhere from Japan, USA, UK, anywhere, these are probably the people that form, beyond your Ghana and its diasporan audience, these are the people that will be form part of your secondary audience. Of course, there is always opportunities for us to tap and unlock into that. But streaming and the access it gives you to an international audience does contribute to what you make. So you will realize that there are a number of musicians whose mainstay primarily is every quarter they get remittances from these streaming platforms that comes to them directly, or sometimes through what you call an aggregator. I'll go through what an aggregator is when I'm speaking about the onboarding process. That is, if you want to have your song placed on this particular platform so that you can be able to earn money from that. I'll explain to you how you have to go through that, because a lot of these channels do not deal directly with the talents. They deal with what you call aggregators, but we'll get into that.
Okay.
Now, a number of the questions that have also been asked consistently is, are we to eliminate all forms of physical media for music distribution? Now, a while ago, I spoke to you about how music consumption is changing. Physical media obviously has to do with the cassette player. If it's not totally faded, it's fully fading. We've gone to CDs as well. CDs, though there are some in the market, it's fading at a faster rate. So of course, I mean, it's changing. But the question is, do we totally eliminate it? The answer consistently has been that from the current development, it does seem that these things would have faded entirely at a certain point in time, if not heavily faded. But some insights still suggest that audiences, very small and mostly older, still cherish to own physical copies of music, because that gives them the opportunity to own a part of their favorite act aside the merchandise. So I've got a favorite uncle, for instance, Uncle Ken. He's still, it's a very nostalgic, and he has a personal relationship with the physical media. So he still does keep his CDs. He still likes to access the music through his CDs, for instance. There are a number of people like Uncle Ken that exist, regardless of how small they are, you know. So with this insight in mind, it remains to be seen if physical media may be eliminated entirely at a certain point in time. But of course, digital streaming is here. Digital streaming offers you vast and a bigger opportunity for you to try. It's more convenient. It's more convenient for yourself, for the talent. It automatically gives you access to a bigger global audiences as much as possible, and so you can think about it. Now, in these times, in these digital times, for a lot of you that are in music and have always thought about how you put in a lot more money into this, I mean, a lot more money in finding a songwriter to write your song, a lot more money in finding the right producers to produce a song, a lot more money on studio work, putting in money into music video, putting in money in a lot of these things that you don't get money back. There's a major concern and a very frequently asked question, which is that in these digital times, and particularly where COVID has come in and hit us heavily, the question that has always been asked is that what will be the optimum business model for the average artist in these digital times? What will be? Now, it would largely depend on the extent of the talent and their markets. Digital distribution is still growing in Ghana. We recognize that as of last year, digital penetration, internet penetration went up faster to about 73%. And so, I mean, the opportunity would expand from there. But Boomplay, for instance, in Ghana has more than 11 million users in Ghana. It tells you the potency of the market. We are not aware what numbers the other platforms are recording, for instance. But that's a substantial number that gives an idea the potency of the markets in the country. It will be foolhardy on the part of any talent to very much focus heavily on digital distributions. Obviously, there must be a combination of digital distributions, live performances, which until Corona was a major revenue earner for a lot of our top talents in Ghana, merchandise sales, which will require some bit of a heavy investment anyway, endorsement on other forms of commercial partnerships with the brands. So to a large extent, as an artist, it would depend on your positioning. It would depend on which market you're looking to target. For a lot of the gospel musicians, one of your biggest and ready markets has always been the church platform. And so some have found a way to connect to the various different churches, picking back from something that used to exist for them to make money. So previously, a lot of the gospel musicians will release a song, they go on a tour in a lot of these churches, and then at the end of every tour, where they go evangelize and all of that, they sell their cassettes, they sell their t-shirts, and then they make money. It's resurfaced in very different ways until Corona hits us anyway. But it's also another way for you to look at it. There's also been a major conversation that has been had. In certain markets, it's been executed. We're yet to see it play out heavily here in Ghana, which is the role of the church in the active production of music that seeks to evangelize. So you will recognize that a very big, one of the artists that enjoys massive streaming from Ghana here and competes with a lot of the top talent in Africa is an artist called Sinach. Sinach, you'd come to find out, is that it's actively being produced by a church in Nigeria, the Christ Embassy Church. So beyond her as well, there are a number of other gospel musicians that have been actively produced by the church, because there's a certain ready market that if the church decides to and wants to, could easily make it profitable for that as well. So the business model that will provide you optimum returns differs from the market that you look at. But generally, once streaming as a major revenue channel, it's something that you can look to. Now, there's one other frequently asked questions, and I'll quickly wrap up the frequently asked questions so that I can go into the various different areas. Now, one other question that has consistently been asked is, how does technology and streaming affect the relevance of record labels and the operations? Now, till now, the roles of the record labels or the music companies are still very important. You'll come to find out that all the record labels that are in the world are owned by 3 top mega labels in the world: Sony, Warner, Universal. Now, the operations of these organizations combined and the kind of revenues they actually accumulate is but very interesting. I'll quickly get into, so now I get into, I think, my presentation part where I can look at it very well and then give you a clear idea how these guys are making it. Okay, so I mean, these 3 mega labels are still very important and own a lot of the independent agents, labels in the world. But then there's also the concept of what you call do-it-yourself talents. There's a lot of the talents that on their own fund the creative process of creating the products, fund the marketing process of the products, and the most importantly, are also in charge of how they optimize whatever product they've created and how they manage their funds and how they plow back and do the investment. These people are called the do-it-yourself talent in the concept of the music industry today. Now, technology may have affected it, but most importantly, technology also gives opportunity for the do-it-yourself people to have a certain ready market. Previously, you can't just hit on any other market without any of the agencies or any of the labels or imprints of any of those bigger labels. But today, from the comfort of your country, it gives you a certain access to a certain market without necessarily having to need these agencies. But obviously, going with the power of them gives you access to a lot more structured way of doing things, in the same ways that we're speaking or talking on the churches to do that. But let's look at what the emerging trends in the creative industry has been. Let's look at streaming and then the digital media. Now, digital media and the growth of the creative and cultural industries in the world. Now, we'll come to realize that digital technologies have transformed the way many creative works are generated, disseminated, and used, like I explained initially. The creative industry contributes to the US, for instance, $200 billion globally to their economy based on digital computing technologies. The participants in the digital market, which is the retailers, the creators, the platforms, or people that are dependent on the creative industry services, online content and new media, account for most of the revenues that's generated by cultural content in any other country. Now, these are some of the platforms that are changing the way entertainment content or creative content are consumed, particularly music. You see the one in green here, Netflix, YouTube. These are but some of the platforms, like I indicated, and how they are really changing how the music is being consumed. Now, streaming has risen, like I indicated. Content consumption have changed drastically in the past few years. It's made it more easier for people to consume content across several devices, and then made it faster for people to also have access to the streaming platforms. Streaming provides consumers with content which they are interested in whenever and wherever they want it. Streaming does also quickly exert dominance over their industries. Both new and old companies are jumping on that particular bandwagon. Now today, as much as, like I indicated, there's a small number of people that want to consume their music content on physical platforms, streaming have come to be known as the lifeblood of the music industry. In the latest reports by the Recording Industry of America, for instance, streaming did generate 75% of the industry's revenue last year, up 10% points from 2017. In 2018, for instance, as well, streaming services such as Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, Amazon Music, and others reached more than 50 million subscribers in the United States for the first time. Now,
we want to defy our family's decision and get married or elope. I need advice. What should I do?
Please, what should I do?
How do I tell her I cheated on her?
So this gives you an idea of the rise of technology and streaming within the past few years, and how it's become a potent force and the heartbeat of the music industry, for instance. This as well gives you an idea of it in the UK and how it's risen in the past few years in the UK. You realize that across the physical or download platforms and the total of it, you would see that the streaming elements kept on rising bit by bit, kept on rising bit by bit. And in 2018, for instance, it shot up to about 829.1 billion. Now, to bring it closer to Africa and closer to Ghana, and also to give you an idea of what streaming, for instance, is doing in Nigeria and what it has the potential to do for us in Ghana, you need to recognize that digital media generating revenues for advanced economies, but Africa's leading creatives are set to benefit as well. According to the PricewaterhouseCoopers, for instance, sales revenues accumulated by Nigerian music was estimated at 56 million in 2014. The same PricewaterhouseCoopers also projects that the sales revenue of Nigerian music will reach 88 million in 2019 thanks to streaming, digital downloads, and mobile. I'm having to cite Nigeria here also because there are a lot of similarities in terms of the markets and the audience and the taste and the preferences of the kind of music that we want. You would also recognize that when you look at West Africa, for instance, a number of the shifts and the happenings that is happening is beginning to play out in Ghana as well, since there's that massive connection as well. So we're having to cite this in the absence of a major research material on the actual value of our music industry. It's important that we be able to highlight that as a way of amplifying how streaming has become a most important platform here as well. Now, when you look at this, going back to the first frequently asked questions that I spoke about regarding how any average artist could optimally take advantage of this and really make the more out of it, you realize that there are different categories on this particular slide. For instance, across physical, digital downloads, mobile, and streaming, and then coming down to the total recorded music, live music sales, and then live music sponsorship, you realize that streaming continues to be, rising year in, year out. Of course, live music and the live music sponsorship also does contribute, and that's why I explained that it will be foolhardy for anybody to have to fully, just concentrate on just streaming, even though it's risen and it's become the heartbeat of the music industry. It's become very important, but it's equally important to also focus on other things as well, which drives revenues as well as revenue angles to it as well.
Okay.
So these are but few of the slides just to give you an idea of how technology or streaming is changing the way music is being consumed across the world. And so for a lot of you that are involved in the music industry today, you need to recognize the power of it. Now let's come to the question that you would often ask, because I'm sure somebody is thinking, what we are saying is that if you're a musician today and you are recording music and you're not familiar with any of these digital platforms, then you've been operating in the dark for some time. But this is the solution. They are what you call aggregators, because the next question that you ask is that, okay, I've got my music, Sadiq, how do I get onto these platforms and how do I make money? They are what you call aggregators. Aggregators are more or less like middlemen. Middlemen. Some have various different contracts which you need to study. Sometimes you've got to have some lawyer, or you've got to read widely in the event that you don't have a lawyer to guide you, a specialist to guide you through it. Read well to understand, or ask a lot of questions to understand which one is ideal and which one would be more perfect. But essentially what they do is that they have got relationships with all of these digital platforms. So there's a major one, which is TuneCore. TuneCore is basically free. You find TuneCore.com, you set up your own account, and then you can, when you have to release a particular song, load it and indicate which of the platforms you want it to be on. If you indicate that it has to be on a global platform as much as possible, once you put out the dates, on the day of your release, it goes up on these platforms. Now you have to now take all these links and market it and promote it and make a lot of noise about it as much as possible. You can actually also use radio, use TV, use live events to create. Today, where you would have to go to the church and then sing and then go, or possibly go to the church, sing and tell them that Mikra CD. Now when you go, you can tell all of them that when you are done, go on YouTube, go on this platform, stream my music, play my music so that I can also get more. This way you can accumulate some of the biggest audiences, and then every quarter, every monthly, depending on which platforms or aggregator you are on, you get paid through some of these things so that you can be able to pay back or plow back into the process that you started again. I think that to sum up, this is just to give you an idea on how technology today has revolutionized the way music is being consumed, how it's simplified it, how it's made it convenient for the music fan and you as well to be able to recoup and make more money from your music. I'm sure that when we get into the next part, there will be some questions, and then we can make this interactive, and I can answer some of your other questions as well.
Well, it is on-air music business seminar. And you can see from just the beginning, you can tell that we have a long way to go, and it is going to be very interesting and very educative. Like I indicated, You can send your WhatsApp messages or questions to our WhatsApp line 0559 680066. Let me take that again. 0559 680066. Sadiq, that was brief but comprehensive.
Yes.
Yes. It was Dito. Yeah. I would have some few questions to ask, so we can get the picture clear. Yeah. You spoke about a lot of things. You actually drew attention to the importance of digital media and all these new things that are coming up. Yeah. There's one question that I want to ask you. You know, these days, you see people streaming or playing, sending across people's projects, intellectual projects. They just put it on WhatsApp pages. They just share. Is there a law guiding that, or that's just that?
So generally, the IP laws does work, but here as well, we are aware that there's a copyright law.
Yeah.
But in the ways that it works, a lot of these platforms are making it hard for you to push to distribute some of these audios on their own.
Yeah.
With time, we know that WhatsApp, for instance, is beginning to put some of these things in motion, particularly because their parent company have begun to do that on Facebook and Instagram, where once the song has an identifiable content ID and as a publisher, for instance, when you put the song on a certain platform without the permission of it, it will clamp down on it. We're getting to that particular point, but understandably, we would like a lot more people to share the links rather.
Yeah.
So if you're looking to share a particular audio to another person. You can take the YouTube link and share. You can take the link on the streaming platform that you're on and then share it, and then you can have the person, you know. So there's a part of it where you can get the people to understand these things and be compliant, but we're gradually getting to that point where some of these platforms will begin to make it hard for you to just share anybody's audio without, you know, due permission.
Okay, that is a good one. You see, when you were doing the presentation, I was thinking for that listener, that Seventh-day Adventist musician listener who wants to know, so now there's the deal. There's a zeal to get into online music promotion. I want to do it. I mean, from everything you were telling us, you see, it makes it very important that we can't sit aloof and see things go like that. So now, the question they are asking, and I would want to ask that question on their behalf and on my behalf, because I'm a musician too. Where do we start from? If I want to go into that, where is the beginning point? Where do I start from?
Well, in terms of music, the beginning point has always been the creative part of it.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm actually talking about
in terms of the onboarding process.
Onboarding process, yes, please.
Yeah, so that's why I explained that there are a lot of ways that you can begin. You can set up your own YouTube platform if you want it, but understandably, the platforms like to deal with the aggregators because they are more trustworthy. They have a more recognizable accounts. I mean, as and when they falter, they know how to find them. But I mean, you can start from there. So your aggregator, for instance, the middle in Ghana, YouTube is Me Promote does a lot of the YouTube aggregation. But we know there's Believe in the system. There is Appraise Music. There is Curve Online. There's Light Digital. There is there's DistroKid. Now these are the easy available ones that you can find online. And then there's TuneCore. Just find tunecore.com, which is TUNECOR.com. Very simple platform. You go on it, just read it, find out how you can sign up and create your own account as an artist. Once you create your own account, it's a very simplified process where once you create your song and you want to release it, let's say on Friday, you can actually upload the song and schedule a date of release and indicate where and where. Now, part of the onboarding process or registration TuneCore will require you to is maybe a recognizable bank account where they can make payments to you and all of those things, so that every quarter, whenever you make money or, I mean, people buy your songs digitally, they can send you some money. But one of the easiest processes, if you're watching us now, to do is just find DistroKid or TuneCore.com. They are major aggregators that gives you access to all these platforms.
And I know of Dito too.
Yeah, Dito also in Ghana as well. I mean, that's provide those services.
Is it free?
So the onboarding process is free, so you don't pay. But for a lot of these platforms as well, and for the service they provide, there's a certain percentage that they take from your earnings. Some of these platforms do about 90-10, where 90-10 means that wherever money you make, you take about 90%,
okay,
and then they take about 10% to cover the services and the role they provide as middlemen or aggregators.
Okay.
So it ranges for YouTube as well. We've seen some it's 30-70, 80-20. It ranges from aggregator to aggregator.
Yeah.
But it's important that you know, of course, for you to be in any business, you can't not know how the business tries or how it breathes. So it's in your interest or the interest of your management as well to do some bit of research and finding out how and what is ideal in some of these cases, so that you will be sure which of the percentage quotas will be better for you coming up.
Okay. All right. I think that is also clear.
And then it's also become a problem to a lot of the older folks. For a lot of the older folks, I mean, as much as we sympathize with them, point is that at a certain point in time, either they, their management, or the record companies that they are on, or their kids, or the people that are with them, may have to jump in to help them with some of these things. Because I mean, some of the things we've come to find out is that you find a lot of high life songs on YouTube, a lot of old high life songs, exciting songs on certain platforms that you've come to find out that these old people or their families or their estates do not have anything to do with it.
Okay.
You know, which means that somebody may have registered and registered on these aggregators, pretending to be the right owners or owners of this particular song, and have been milking it.
Okay.
It's a bad thing. It's something that can be checked. But most importantly, when they set up their platforms and provide the necessary proofs, these people can be penalized and then they can begin to make their money back.
All right, thank you very much, my brother.
Thank you.
I think that it was comprehensive, like I already indicated. And we are going to get into the discussions. We're not ending today.
Right.
We're going to be looking at digital media and all that. With all that, I think that the understanding is going to come clear.
Yes.
And we're going to have some practical ways of getting on board. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I think that the final part is the fact that, yes, it's digital platforms. Yes, it gives you access to a global audience and a wider reach, but it doesn't on its own move.
That's it.
Of course, I mean, once you've got the subscribers, and once you've got the right playlisting and everything, it's able to give you some bit of audience. But you need to recognize that in the same ways you will have to work on your brand, you would have to do all these things that create assets that power your music. You've got to do the same thing. You've got to do the promotions, you've got to do the marketing, because once the song is sitting on there, the song on its own will not move.
That's it.
You've got to compel people to have to go on these digital platforms to listen to it. So it's just a part of it, but there's always the promotional and branding element to it.
I was going to ask you that question, because I remember when I got my YouTube account, it was so difficult for you to get people to go there and subscribe. Because I was like, I put it there. I put it in pages. I get people. I expect people to just go and watch the video and subscribe. And by the time you go and check it out, about 3 days, you have some 2 subscribers adding up. So it makes it very difficult. So I was going to ask how.
Yes.
So I just want it to be very practical, because the people out there listening want to know how practically.
Okay. So point is that, I mean, this is where media, promotions, and using the promotional channels does work.
Okay.
If you have an available platform such as this and you come to talk about it, don't leave your platforms away from your interviews. After every interview, be minded to remind people that please go on such and such platform and find me.
That's it.
And then find my song and stream it. When you release a song, often what you do is you do the promotional drives on the radios, on the media, and the newspapers, on the blogs, and all of these platforms, all these avenues and everything. Be minded to remind the blogs, for instance, to put your links, so that when somebody reads any of the stories, they can click on your link and then go and find your song. The same as any of the radio platforms or TV platforms that you're on. Be minded to, just as you tell them that, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Facebook, yes, do remind them to do that. And of course, once you have your Facebook and Twitter platform, it's ready market for you. Once you've got some followers, it's always a way where you can continue to promote and get people to go on these platforms.
And of course, it is quality that we market. If it is not quality, you don't waste your time on that. All right, so on that note, we'll be coming to the end of the show tonight. We are going to continue tomorrow. Tomorrow, we are going to talk artist branding. And my brother, we have one gentleman who will be coming to handle that. He is in the name person of Kwame Dadzi, and a very experienced person to take that subject. And so I would advise you, don't go anywhere tomorrow. Find your TV set anywhere you can find it, and then just stay glued to Hope Channel Ghana. There was a line I put out there. You can still send in your questions at the right time. We're going to have to deal with them, and then you're going to get the understanding. Thank you for watching On Air Music Business. We are back tomorrow. My name is Steve Boat.